Okay, I'd like to welcome all of you to another one of our paid trainings that we do for our co-founder training. And I'm glad that you're here. And today is going to be a special training in the fact that we, for at least for a couple of weeks, we're going to be paying everybody in PML coin into their holding area for paid training. So you're going to get $50 of PML for coming into the training today. And we're going to do that for all the trainings, both with me and with Mr. Gillis, who does it for the UK and Africa side of the world. And that'll be the case up until we get to our launch date on the 6th. So now, Hunter, do you remember, $1 PML? What's the value of that in the new coin?
1 million.
So how do you guys feel about getting $50 million for every training? That's that's exciting, right? All right, so it's just another way to
Insane.
accumulate some PML between now and when we launch on April 6th, the new coin. And so let's go ahead and release the hounds. Open up the chat. Everybody can put in their wallet address so they can get paid today.
George.
All right, there we go. All right, go for it, everyone. All right, so today I really want to get you educated on the aspect of what makes this new coin offer so, special, okay? And that if we work together and we succeed at creating real value in the market, then the holdings that we have, the equity that we're holding in the new coin will be tremendous. It'll be a tremendous benefit to those that are able to be a part of it before the launch. So let me share my screen and we'll just kind of look at a couple of things on Google. All right, so I'm going to educate you guys today on dark pool trading. So here's a little overview from Google. It says dark pool trading refers to private off-exchange forums where institutional investors anonymously buy and sell large blocks of securities, hiding their orders from the public to avoid significant market price disruption. Also known as dark liquidity, black pools, or alternative trading systems, ATS. They allow for executing large trades without revealing intentions until after the trade is completed. Key aspects of dark pool trading: purpose primarily used to execute massive trades, blocks of shares without triggering adverse price movements, which would occur if the same order were placed on public exchanges like the NYSE or NASDAQ. Anonymity: orders are hidden from the public and only participants see the liquidity after the transaction is executed. Examples of usage: institutional blockchain trading, a pension fund looking to sell 500,000 shares of a company might use the dark pool to avoid causing a sharp drop in the stock price. Broker-dealer pools: firms like Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse operate internal pools to match client orders. Agency electronic pools perform like LiquidNet or IEX, connect institutional buyers and sellers directly, and so on. So another Google search: what percentage of trades happen in dark pools? As of early 2025, over 50% of total U.S. equity trading volume occurs in dark pools. Does that surprise anyone?
Nope.
Not really.
I mean,
Yes.
that's a big number, 50%. Okay. And other off-exchange venues. These private anonymous electronic venues are widely used to trade large blocks of shares without disclosing information to the public market until after the trade. with estimates often ranging between 35% to 50% of volume. Key details of dark pool activity. Market share shift. Dark pool volume has grown from 3 to 5% of all trades, which was typical in the 1980s, to a majority of U.S. trading as of January 25, per Wikipedia data, and so on. Okay. So I mentioned to you guys before, you guys should look into dark pools, and now I'm doing it for you. I'm showing you the power there. Okay. So we're really structuring what we're doing around the idea that that can give us an advantage with the new coin offer by building something of value in the market. The idea only works if we are successful in creating some value, real value. We have to do, that comes first, create value, because without the value, then we got nothing, right? It's just a shell without the value. Okay. So realize that we got some building to do together. Okay. And, but when your allocation is, sitting in your account, when we launch this thing on the 6th of April, for some of you, it's going to be a very big number with a very big value. It's already going to have a dollar value based on what's going to happen in the market. And we're going to start the price at $1,000 per coin. There are 1 billion coins, so 1,000 times 1 billion is $1 trillion. So that's our starting point. And then all of you got basically a share of that pie that have opted in. Okay. And your share is directly proportionate to the number of shares you're holding in those that have opted in whatever you're holding in PML. We'll take all the people that have opted in and look at how much they're holding in PML. That'll create a whole, and then we'll divide it up into a pie. And so we're only going to be able to divide about 5 coins. There's only about 5 coins that really can be divided in the market when it comes to PML. So we're going to take that small pie of 5 coins. Some of you might have 20% of it. Some of you might have 10. Some of you might only have 1%. Some of you might have, much less than 1%. It really depends on, what you do before April 6th, doesn't it? Each one of you have to make choices here, how you're going to position yourself for what is to come and how big of a player you're going to be in the new coin community when it rolls out in about 3 weeks. So we'll take that small pie and use the same proportion. So let's say Hunter, for example, has got 22% of the pie. Let's say William Wallace here, so let's just say he's got 17% of the pie, and let's say Natalia, she's got 14% of the pie, and so on and so on and so on, and down to the smallest who might have a fraction of 1% of the pie. Okay. But those same proportions will then transfer from the 5 coins over to the 1 billion coins. Okay. Now that you can come to training and get 50 of these PML coins, or 50, I'm not 50 of them, but you're getting $50 worth of PML, right? So that's going to help increase your portion size just by showing up to training, the paid trainings that we do. And when they transfer to the 1 billion coin pie, okay, when you take something small like 5 coins and expand it to 1 billion, that's where you get the whole, $1 of PML. Holding $1 of PML equals $1 million, of equity in the new coin. I hope all of that makes sense. Does anybody here confused about that part? So the pie makes sense to everyone, right? Okay.
Yes.
No one seems to be
I'm
confused.
not going to say yes, but it gave me a headache. I put it like that because that's above my, if you understand what I'm saying, but I'm going to follow you.
Okay. Well, just if you've ever seen a pie chart, Darlene, there's different sizes of percentages in the pie chart, right? So it's going to be the identical pie chart, only the difference is a pie chart made of 5 coins versus a pie chart made of 1 billion coins. So whatever percent you have is going to be the same in the new coin. Okay. So, and we're talking about substantial value that might be beyond some of your belief systems. Some of you have small belief systems and operate in very small containers mentally. Okay, you put restrictions on yourself. You need to open your minds to to see really just how big this is, because there the ability to meet people in the world is available to all of us if there's a willingness to do whatever it takes to meet people. Okay. And there's always somebody out there with exactly what you're looking for. What if you could trade equity in the new coin for what you want in a direct trade? Okay. That's the potential here. So, but this is all contingent on the idea that the marketplace has to become very successful, where a lot of people love it, and they're the user of the marketplace. The majority of people going to the marketplace are users. Okay, that number is growing fast, and the products available in the marketplace are desirable and things that people want, and that's what we have to figure out. And we figured that out together. 2 heads are better than 1. All right, 50 heads are better than 2, and so on. Okay. A few hundred heads is better than 50, so that's the idea. That's why we're going to group together. And everybody can make a contribution to the success of the platform, and drawing people into it, bringing people in, and getting them to see the value of being a part of this and using our currency attached to it. Okay. Literally, people will have to trade their paper money in so that they can get our currency. That'd be the only way to acquire these particular products within this particular platform. And so the more successful the platform is, the more valuable your equity is to potential buyers that you might approach and say, hey, we could do something peer-to-peer. I have this value. You have this. I'd like to get this for that. And would you like to trade? And if they say yes, we put an agreement together and then make it so. And then we'll have a facility within our website that makes it possible to do that. Okay. So that's what we're going to build all this. Okay. So we're talking about something that's in the process of being developed, the first versions of it. But over time, there's going to be these mechanisms inside the website that you'll have access to that users will not have access to. Equity holders are going to have access to, this equity thing. Okay. And users won't have access to that unless they later become an equity holder because of a trade. Okay. Then that could trigger it. Okay. So, if you're sitting on something, I don't want you to look at these numbers like they're not real. They're as real as we actually make them real. So this is where the work comes in. Okay. So I'm counting on all of us to, bring ourselves together and with an effort that will produce the outcome that we want. And the outcome that we want is we want users to be attracted to our marketplace and be excited to, to go to the market, buy the new coin, and then use that coin to acquire products and services within the marketplace that they want. And the more users we have that are excited about the marketplace, the more powerful it will be when we go to do private trading with our equity. And the great thing about this is that it's peer-to-peer. It is something that you're not doing it on the market, so the price of the coin is not affected at all. Even if $1 million or something like that is traded, okay, you trade $1 million and you get whatever in exchange for that $1 million. The price of the coin in the in the coin market cap, it will stay the same. Doesn't affect the price. Does that make sense? It's a peer-to-peer
Yes.
trade. Okay. It's the same thing if two people get together, one doesn't have Bitcoin, the other one does, and they find a way to trade, for something that whoever's holding the Bitcoin wants to have what the other person has, and they want to trade the Bitcoin for Bitcoin certainly has been successful enough that it could do the same thing. And in fact, you can count on it. I'm sure there are many whales in the Bitcoin community that are doing dark pool transactions all the time, and you never hear about them. They don't make headlines. Nobody knows it's happening, but it does happen. It doesn't affect anything on any exchange anywhere. And and that's good. That's actually a good thing, especially if they're well and they want to move a lot of coin. It's a good thing that they would do it in a dark pool for the rest of us that might just have a small amount. But we do see, players like BlackRock and, that's the main one that comes to my mind. When they start selling large quantities, we see what the price does. It goes down fast because they have enough of the Bitcoin, for example, that they can make the coin value go down quickly because they actually have that much Bitcoin that they purchased. Okay. It's interesting because BlackRock doesn't have to do that. They have access to black pools too. Why don't they use them? So you might be thinking, well, maybe they want to manipulate the market so they can buy more Bitcoin at a lower price. And you would be right in thinking that way because that's the way everybody reads it. When something like BlackRock comes in and pushes the price down, it's because they're just trying to get the price low enough so they can buy a bunch more of it at a much lower price. So and it's legit. It happens across the board. So that is what I want to impress upon you guys today, how valuable equity is. And even though at first it might seem like a very slow process, you might not be able to do anything with your equity for a period of time. It could be 6 months, it could be a year. Basically we have to achieve the value first, then the equity has meaning. I hope that makes sense, right? So I'll be, once we launch, it's all about building value, building value, building value. I'm going to be like a broken record talking about building value, but you all know the reason why I'll be saying that for as long as I have to until we actually create the value that I think is powerful enough that equity then is something that we can tap into. And then all of us that have, equity positions as a result of being a part of the launch and we're co-owners of this because all of the billion coins are basically being allocated on day one. Okay. So, and then it's going to be like that allocation be like that until we have value first. And then when value kicks in, then we can start like saying, okay, now we'll come to agreements. Okay, we can do this and we can do that when it comes to equity, and we'll come together, we'll have meetings about it. And then we'll expand it from there. But what this will do is put you in a position that I don't think there's any other way to do it. This is going to be a unique approach to elevating yourself in a financial way. I don't think you can find anything that will match it. Okay. And then what happens in the market, we're watching that, because we want to make sure that there's plenty of buying pressure, right? We want to see plenty of buying pressure and as little as possible selling pressure, but we're not going to control it by banning people. We're not going to do any of that with the new coin. It's just going to be like, look, it's going to be understood. All of us have a strong equity position day one. We have every reason to protect that, and we'll understand that, whatever we can do to create buying pressure and reduce selling pressure benefits the individual as much as it does all of us, right? And so if there's people that come along and they want to speculate with the coin, they won't even have that access to that many coins, especially in the beginning. to even make that much of a difference in bringing the price down. So, because we're going to release it like this. Let me go review that with you again. We're going to release coins into the market following a simple formula. We take 10% of any gain on any particular day. So as long as there's a positive gain, we'll take 10% of it and swap it from the coins that are being held as equity into USDT. Okay. And then that USDT will then be put into your back office where you can access your portion of it. Perhaps your portion in this example would be $84. Okay. And every day that there's a positive net gain, that's when you'll actually see, in addition to the what can be, withdrawn as USDT in your back office. So it's going to look similar to something like this. So you're going to see how much you got of the new coin in your wallet. You're going to see how much you're holding. That's going to be a gigantic number. And then you're going to see how much USDT is available, something like that. And then you could click here to withdraw USDT. Okay. But eventually you'll be able to come into what you're holding and take portions of it and trade it. But it's not being traded into the market. It's being traded equity to another party that will hold that piece of the equity, right? So whatever you have is what you can, use. And the same thing will be true for that new person when we open that up. Okay. So there could be a whole tree or a genealogy, if you will, of people that are sharing the equity that you originally started with here. Okay. But it'd be that. And everything just works off those same percentages and what we kick off on that pie from day one. So those percentages will remain constant forever on this thing, and yeah, it's about going to the website, not the market, to make that happen. Have I lost anybody? Or anybody confused about what I just went over? You're all with me. You're keeping up with it, Paul.
I am.
You get your hand up.
Yeah, I'll watch the replay.
You were here the whole time though, right?
Yeah. I'm a bit tired, but I'll watch the replay. That's fine.
Okay. Well, give me an example, Paul, of something, a large purchase that you'd really love to make.
A Porsche.
A Porsche. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what if someone has the exact year and model that you want? Okay, and they've got it up for sale. Okay. So, of course they're advertising that they want X amount of money for it, right?
Yep.
What if you could go to them and say, tell you what, I could give you, let's just say, double what you're asking for, but I want to pay you in equity in a coin instead of paper money. Would you be open to that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just use an example. Let's say the Porsche is, 120,000. So you offer them $250,000 for the Porsche in equity. And they know that equity is something that they could use the same way that you're doing with them. They could take that $250,000. They could also offer it to other people to get what they want. Right? And that would almost create like a genealogy. You're the top. They'd be direct to you, then someone be below them. These are equity positions, right? And then the distribution of the coins into the market is all based on the same percentile for the entire group. So let's say your percentile is 14%. So your entire group, based on each percent they have within that 14%. So each one's a percent of 14%, right? And then that's what would be taken out and put into the market anytime that there's a net gain on any given day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. For me, math is easy. I don't know why, but some people, it's not so easy. But I do a lot of this stuff in my head mathematically, and I can see, I can visualize it very easily. I know that's might be an unusual trait. That's not very common, actually, is what I found. I see, you still have your hand up. Is there another question?
That's it, yeah.
Follow-up
Yeah,
question?
so-
Articulate your question, Paulie. Paulie, I
So-
love listening to Paulie's questions when he articulates what's on his thoughts.
So, where will they see the value of the coin?
So they would get, basically a copy of the back office, but would have their information in it. So
Okay.
it would open up the equity area in their account area of their website of the website.
I see. Yep.
Make sense?
Yep.
I'm gonna turn
Thank
off.
you.
I'm gonna turn off the Telegram. It is beeping like crazy right now. Okay, Telegram off. All right. So black pools. This is a standard practice. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, and again, as long as the underlying asset being the marketplace is very valuable, seeing as something that is valuable, something that it could stand on its own and does stand on its own in that sense, right? So we create that value together. Like I always use WAP as an example. They have created a marketplace that is exciting. And it definitely stands on its own. And the young people that started it, these are young people that started this WAP. They're paying out billions of dollars to people to the creators of digital products and services on their platform. That value is real. Okay, so we do the same thing. The only difference is we only accept one currency, our currency. We haven't come up with a name for it yet. I think maybe tomorrow we'll have figured out what the name of this currency is going to be. Tomorrow we're going to have a meeting on that tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So anybody who's opted in, they can be part of that meeting. Okay, so quite a few still haven't opted in yet. It takes $100. You gotta buy in with $100 of USDT. That's part of the opt-in process. But once you've opted in, then you're welcome to come to our meetings because these are private meetings. Okay, it's basically just for the owners alone. Just for only the owners are allowed to come. Okay, there's no spectators. Okay. All right, so we got Hunter with the hand up.
Yep, just to springboard off of your comments, for anyone who has opted in and hasn't reached out to me yet, please do so with your transaction hash because that's how I verify that you have indeed opted in. And once I see that, I can go ahead and let you into our private space.
There you go. And let me show people where to get that. Okay, so if you're wondering, Hunter, where do I get this transaction hash? I'll show you mine. Here's my transaction hash. You got to go to the pool funding website. And then you click on Explore and you go into Community Coin Offer. Okay, right at the top of the list. And then View Transaction on BSC. That's Binance Smart Chain. Scan. Okay, BSC scan. You click on that. It opens up the address for the transaction hash. So this technically that is the transaction hash, but I usually give the entire address. So I'll just click on the address and I'll copy that, and it shows that, $100 was paid. So I paid it from my Ace Fletcher wallet over to the Guarantee wallet. It was paid. And I'll just put that in the chat here. So that's how you find the transaction hash. If there's any question about that, chat. I'll just paste it here. Okay, there we go. All right. So that's an example. So if you haven't if you haven't connected with Hunter to let them know that you've opted in, and for some reason you've opted in and you're not included in the private Telegram group for only those people that have opted in, okay, you might want to do that right away because we're having a very important meeting tomorrow. All right. So development is happening quite quickly at this point. Even on the legs, I was talking to the main programmer, talking to him yesterday, and he was telling me at what stage he's in on developing legs. And we already have a domain set up for it. It's going to be something to look at very soon, you know. So that'll be the first product. It's technically a service, you know. So it's a service that'll be part of the marketplace. It'll be one of the anchor things, one of the anchors in the mall, one of the large operations, because I believe the value of offering quality leads is going to be huge. You know, it's going to be huge, and it'll catch on. But you know, that's only one. And all of you have the opportunity to come up with your own ideas or borrow the idea, you know. I mean, copy good ideas, you know, right? There's the whole world's full of different digital products and services. Go look around and search for things that are very popular and find a way to get that kind of thing into our marketplace, right? More popular something is already, it's easy to say, well, we can get either a copy of it or something similar to it and get it into our marketplace. Okay. So we could even invite people that have something that's working elsewhere. Hey, how would you like to also have your same product over with us? And then you have the benefit of the private currency that we're using to go with that. Okay. All right. So anybody else? So are you excited about dark pools? How many of you are excited about the idea of having equity and a dark pool, and dark pool trading?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds
I
cool.
am.
Yeah. So we establish value first, and that's going to be work, guys. There's no way to get around work. It's going to take work and effort, and don't expect it to be a smooth ride. Just expect it to be, a little bumpy, clunky in the first, year, right? As we find our footing, okay, and make this happen. But I tell you, it'll flip from once we hit a certain degree. There's success happens in degrees, right? So we hit a certain degree of success, then we say, okay, it's a good time now to open up, and we'll come together. Well, how much equity should we open up? Should we open up 1% of our equity, 10%? I mean, we'll come together as owners and discuss that among ourselves to see what makes sense. Okay, so that something works. All right, Darlene, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
So my question is, do your PML coin go down?
What do you mean down in value?
Yeah, because when I looked at it, I know I had, like last week I had a certain amount.
Well, what's happening is the value of the PML has gone down in price, right? So if you're new to trading, things go up and things go down. And so just, there's just enough selling pressure that I thought, well, fine, let's have the sellers sell at half of what they're normally getting. So the prices moved down. So now when people sell, they're getting half what they were getting before. So I'm just letting the sellers choke on their own vomit, basically. Whatever you were holding did go down as a result of that.
Okay, but that's because somebody else is selling, not me personally.
No, I mean,
Correct.
yeah, you are not
Okay,
selling.
okay.
Other people are selling. Obviously, like I said, there's about 5 coins that are circulating. And some of those people holding, portions of those 5 coins, there's 1,000 people holding a piece of PML,
Okay.
right? 1,000. And, it's an open free market. And as much as I try to guide and direct and maybe even punish a little bit those that do sell, as much as I've done that, we still end up with sellers. So I came to the conclusion that, well, since some people are really that determined to sell, why should I give them full price? How about they get half price?
10-4.
And
It
so
actually hurts us now. I see what you're saying now when
Yeah.
you was having the meetings. Okay.
yeah, so I don't really see it as hurting those that are holding anyway, because nothing is lost until you actually complete a sell. So for example, let's just run a scenario. Let's say you bought something and when you bought it, it's worth $1. Okay. And then the price of the coin goes up. So let's say it goes to $1.25. Okay. So the same thing that you're holding, okay, it's not $1 anymore. It's now the value of it's $1.25 because the price went up. Okay, meaning that was more people buying it than selling it. Okay. But then let's say some sellers come in and drive the price all the way down to 50 cents. Well, have you really lost anything? On as far as watching it, it's had a 75%, it had a 75-cent drop in price, but you haven't lost anything because you haven't sold yet, right? Even though the price changed and went down to 50 cents, it's not going to be there forever. Let's say that later on it climbs all the way back up to $5, right? You didn't sell it when it was 50 cents. You decided, well, okay, since I'm free to sell, let's say when it's $5, it's at a point where you're free to sell it and there's no consequence. And if that's the case and you sell it at $5, then you turned $1 into $5 because you purchased at $1. And even though it went up and then went down and went all the way up, because the transaction is completed when you sell. So there's a buy and there's a sell. That's a completed transaction. And then you can measure if you had a loss or a gain personally. There's no way to lose if you don't sell. It's only when you sell for something on the market for less than you paid for it. That's when you can carry a loss.
Understand. Thank you.
Does
Yes.
that make sense?
Yes.
That's how the
Yes.
market works.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm not too concerned because eventually we're going to bring the price of PML up to $2 million. It's going to happen. But right now, I'm not necessarily in a hurry to make it happen right now. It doesn't need to happen right now. Okay. Right now, we need to get the new coin launched and that whole thing started. And then we'll come back to PML we'll gather strength on the new coin and use the strength that we got there, bring it over to the PML and then push PML right back where we wanted it. And hopefully by that point, all of the sellers have sold everything. They don't have anything left to sell by the time we're ready to move it back up. That's the idea. Okay. Hey, Scott out of Thailand, your hand's up.
Hello, yeah. Can I ask a quick question about crypto in general? Well, not just crypto, but anything
course, yeah.
trading.
Yeah, trading. Go ahead. Sure.
So what I don't quite understand is everybody says that trading's difficult, but if you buy something at a low price and sell at a high price, what's the problem? What's the difficulty? Why do you need so much skill and thingy when it's fairly simple?
I asked a golfer the same thing, I mean, how hard is it to hit a ball?
Not hard.
The tricky part is that the hole you're going to put that ball in is so small, right? So it can barely fit the ball itself. And the tricky part about trading is winning. Is the actual effort is not hard. But what happens is that people have needs, like they got to pay their rent, they got to put food on the table, the utility bill, the car payment, the insurance payment. These kind of things push people to the point where they sell prematurely, right? And they take a loss. because they were thinking they were buying something at a good price that was going to go up, and they were wrong when they needed to sell. And that's the tricky part. That's what makes trading hard. Now, if we didn't
Okay,
have
but
these
should
if we didn't have these needs, where we actually need money to pay, and where's the money coming from? So, if you're trying to make a living on trading, if that's all you do for a living, you picked probably one of the hardest possible ways to make a living because you're going to have the bills, whether the price of what you want the thing to be at hits your target or not. You're gonna need to pay your bills anyway, and maybe you have to sell some of it so you can pay your bills. That's why it can be a very tricky thing. Is a hobby, sure, where you buy it and you could wait 10 years if you have to. You're not going to sell it until it is at a price that you want to sell it at. And you got 10 years, but then it comes into the equation of the time value of money. So that's a principle, the time value of money, and things like inflation factor in. So see, I can go complicated with you if you want, but there's money is much like a river, and every time you step into the river, you're stepping into a new river. You know what I'm saying? Because the water it's not going to be the same water when you step in the second time, the third time. It's constantly changing, and so yeah, I've done a lot of trading in my life, decades and decades of trading. And I think I'm probably broken even more or less. You know, it's I've had some very hard, pills. I've had some big losses before, and for that same reason, because I needed the money and and so just had to sell at a loss. Um, and that's the thing. So but what we're doing with PML, we're really, I mean, nobody is doing anything, major, honestly, with PML at this point. I mean, it's more or less dabbling at this point. You don't see people coming in with $20,000 and throwing it in on any given day, or anything large like that. And probably the biggest thing going on, maybe someone puts $100 in or $200 in a given day, which is kind of small, relatively speaking, right, to other things in the market. But hey, what I do know is now that we've made everything that we're doing is going into the holding area, that means that there's no way for the sellers to accumulate more coins for free like they were before. The sad part about this is that the people selling, many of them didn't even buy that much PML in the first place. They just took advantage of the system that provided them a lot of coin that they didn't pay for, right? That's why the new coin won't have that attribute. We are removing that attribute completely from the new coin that we're going to roll out. If you want it, you got to buy it. The equity is equity, but it's not something that's something we can do with right away. We have to create the value first, like I said before. And so, that's all fair and all that's all, there's nothing wrong with any of that. Okay, all good. So, we're coming in together as a group of owners. We're launching our own digital marketplace. We're using our own currency. It's all good. It's all good. All we've got to do is be good at promoting it and building value by getting users to come and use our marketplace and come and be creative and especially if we can come up with products that you can't get anywhere else. See, that's going to be the thing, like legs. That'll be one of the things. You can't get that anywhere else. Okay, what we're going to be doing with legs is never been seen before anywhere. Okay. So as we come up with some creative ideas like that, that's going to be what will draw people in better than anything else. But, it's really easy. Go to Google. What are the most popular digital products? What do they do? And it'll give you a list of things that are really popular right now. And then we go look at other people's products. We could go and invite those creators to come into our community and hey, put your product here too. Here's another place for you to put your product, you know, and then promote it, help promote it. So that's how we build value. How about that, Scott?
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Okay, good deal. All right, anybody else? Are we golden? So now that I've really clarified dark pools and making that equity even more real, once it's real in your head, it's real everywhere else. Okay. That's where it all starts. All creation starts in the mind. Okay. So, once when you understand the nature of dark pools, that these are things that are being used across the world anyway, and we're just going to be launching ourselves in a position that we know we're going to be able to do the same thing once we create that value. And then the numbers we're talking are going to be huge, gigantic, because we'll be the originators. Jay Torres out of California, buddy. How you doing? You got your hand up?
Yeah, Ace. Just curious. I know we're kind of operating on two timelines between, well, we're trying to do things with PML and the new coin. Do you think we're still on the same timeline around the end of the year for all these things to dovetail, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, we still have a solid 9 months ahead of us, right?
Right.
And a lot can be done in 9 months. We can do in 9 months what even maybe a 12-month plan would have, but we can get it done in 9 months. But the key element that needs to be created is something called momentum.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, because of the selling pressure we've had with the two projects before this, the pool funding and the PML, because of the selling and the lack of cooperation from those sellers, then they basically put us in a squeeze, like as far as
Yeah.
time and all that goes. And but I'm the master at turning lemons into lemonade. So voila, we have a
Yeah.
new coin and a new project, and we can create momentum there. And then we can
Mhm.
carry that same momentum that we create there into the other two projects as needed. How about
Okay.
that? Make sense?
Yeah. So it behooves us to do all that we can to make this new coin project as successful as possible in the least amount of time.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. It does. It does. Let me put it to you this way. The reason why from the beginning I've been referring to you guys as co-founders, even maybe partners. Quite seriously, with this new project, you're co-owners. I mean, the equity is another way of saying you're an owner. Okay, co-owner. What it does is it hopefully helps you guys to see yourself in the light of responsibility as an owner. And as each one of you respectively are coming in as an owner, you should have a strong incentive as an owner for the project to succeed, right? So this is something we failed to get from everyone in the previous two projects because we had those among us that were never seeing themselves in that light the proper way. Even though I asked them to see themselves that way, they didn't. They refused to look at themselves that way. Instead, they only looked at themselves as an individual, and they're going to take advantage wherever they can take advantage. And then, yeah, but what they've gained short term, when they see what we do here with the new coin and the new project and what they've given up, some of these guys are going to go, holy cow. I got $5,000 when I sold it. I had a big chunk of this PML and I sold $5,000 of it. I could have got what's 5,000 times a million? You know, what is that? What
5,000 million.
5,000 million? I think it's 5 billion. If you
5 billion.
yeah, it's 5 billion. So
Either way.
which would you rather have, 5 billion or 5,000? But they chose to grab the 5,000. Some chose to grab 500. Some really small ones have come in and have chose to get $60. They got $60 when they could have had 60 million. Because they couldn't see themselves in that light. And that's why I put the filter in that you got to pay $100 to opt in. If you can't do that, this way we're weeding out some of those people that are going to slow us down anyway. That's why that's in there. It's a tiny filter, only $100. But if $100 keeps you out, then you're probably not going to help us much anyway. In what we're trying to create value in the new coin. All right, Ken, go ahead.
Hi, Ace. Everybody, would you look at the chat window, please? And see the statement I just posted there?
What I see here is a WAP. Okay, there we go. Can I read it? Victories as a community come when members welcome and accept the work towards a common goal.
Now, guys,
very well written.
Here's the problem that Ace has been faced with, everybody. There's been some bad actors who are not community minded. What Ace is doing, and he's been doing this for the last 2 years, actually. His mission is to form a very unified group to understand what our common goal is. So the last few months, we've seen these bad actors who have no intention or no interest in being part of a unified community. They're being eliminated now. And once they're eliminated and everybody proceeds the way that Ace is directing us to proceed, this is probably the best opportunity you'll see in your lifetime. And that'll become, I believe, much more clear as we move forward. In fact, tomorrow night, I think, Ace, you're going to have some pretty important announcements, right?
Well, tomorrow we're going to decide on the name of the coin, but we'll probably keep that to ourselves until we create the coin. But those that are in the meeting, they'll know what the name of the coin is, but then we'll keep it quiet until the coin gets created, right? So
well,
that's.
I think a lot of us are not understanding quite yet, mainly because it's crypto. But this opportunity is only available because of the crypto space. And all I can say is, folks, pay close attention because I truly believe this is the best opportunity you'll see.
I appreciate you saying that, being one that's a connoisseur of opportunities. You look at so many over decades, and then you'll actually promote some of them that you've come across over the years. So that's a big saying right there coming from you. Appreciate that.
My pleasure, Ace.
Thank
And I
you, Ken.
appreciate everything you've done. I know what you've been up against for especially the last year.
Yeah. It's been a hot seat to sit in.
I can't imagine.
My butt's on fire. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. But hey, I'm taking it in stride. I think I'm doing all right. Am I carrying myself okay under the weight? You guys, how do you guys feel about how
I'd say so.
how I carry myself?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, without some support, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I appreciate the fact that you have come to support me in what I'm trying to do here. And realize that my target isn't just us. My real target is humanity. Really, I want to make an impact on humanity in a positive way. And I'm going to need your help to do it, because I see a lot of opportunity. I see the darkness out there, and I go, something can be done about that. I mean, have you guys ever heard about the little e-files that are being released? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes.
You know how the darkness is thick, isn't it?
Very.
And if you go real deep into those files, you'll start to look at pizza in a whole different way. Pizza takes a whole nother meaning. When you start looking at those files, and then these are the people that are running the institutions that we're in a way we're kind of forced to use, right? But I don't think we're going to be forced to use them forever. I think at some point all of this comes to a head, and enough will be enough, and eventually the people come out ahead. So I'm coming from the optimist point of view, and the target here is humanity, to lift humanity any way that we can, empower the individual en masse. And as much as the people that have been working against us here, the sellers, they're the very people that I want to help. You know, the exact people I want to help are these silly sellers. You know, I'm like, I look at their situation, some of them, you know, that they have sold because of they're in dire straits and they're really cornered. And you know, my heart goes out to them on the one hand, you know. But if it wasn't for, you know, pool funding or anything that we're doing here, what would they have done if we weren't part of the equation? What would they have done? And maybe they should have done that instead of selling. That's what I'm saying, you know, because, you know, why use this resource when it should have been protected? But they couldn't quite see, you know, the offer that way, you know, because maybe the lenses that they're looking through, you know, are so dark that they can't see the light. Okay. So there you go. But yeah, we become wiser as we move forward. But yeah, I want to lift humanity up because I look at how this world is constructed, and finance is at the center of it. It's like the bullseye, right? You know, if finance is not the center, okay, things just don't. People are not motivated to do a lot of things that they do. It's the money, right? So this is why I've been thinking, well, if you want to move humanity, you got to find a way to help them financially in a real way, not just with good advice. There's lots of people out there with good advice, but let's face it, a lot of good advice only lasts, you know, for a few years, like a fad diet, you know. Some things work for a period of time and then they stop working, you know. So it's not just advice. People need a system. They need a whole system that will elevate them. And that's what I want to create. I want to create a system that elevates so that people then will be harder to manipulate, right? It's so easy to manipulate the poor, right? Threaten to make them even poorer, you know, threaten them with hunger, you know, or war or something else like that. Make them feel like it could become worse, you know. And then they're very easy to move. But a person they're on solid ground financially and you can't knock them down, someone like that's hard to move, it's hard to manipulate. And what if that was the majority of people? What if the majority of people were on solid ground financially? See, that's the world I want to create, where we've come up with a term for it, the luxury economy, right? The luxury economy is where the individual stands strong. There's dignity in life for everyone. Go ahead, Ken. You want to add to that?
I think folks are getting the message, Jace. Can I share my screen real quick?
Sure, go ahead. Hunter will give you permission.
Go ahead, Ken.
So I think people are getting the message, Jace. You see my screen?
Well, it's black right now. It's going to open in a second. There it goes. There's the chart.
Here we are 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
About
90,000.
89.
Yep.
Now we've seen some good buying taking place here.
Yep.
The best time to have purchased your PMO, folks, was about 24 hours ago.
Exactly.
This is probably the second best time right here.
Exactly.
This doesn't mean that all the sellers are gone yet.
No, we're still seeing some of them, but you know what's happening is that you start seeing these guys running out of PML because in the reports that you see on the Telegram, you can see how much was sold, how much they got in USDT, and then how much the PML they got left over, and a lot of them are coming back 0, 0, 0. So, and we're not giving them access to any more, so they're running out, and that's okay. So when I'm you know, and at this point, I'm going to be very flexible on what the price does. If it drops even further, I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm going to look at it like, well, those people who are serious about the new coin are going to be even happier because now they can get more from when they're buying. You know, we have quite a few of you that are dollar cost averaging, buying $1 every day or even $5 every day. Those of you that are doing that, and the price goes even lower, how much happier are you? You know, are you happy when it goes lower? And when you're dollar cost averaging at a lower price, you're very happy because, you know, you're getting more coin, you know? And so, yeah.
Very happy.
And, you know, the idea is that we will get this once we've shaken all the sellers out, then that should be easy after that to move us up to $2 million, which is the price target for PML. And then we can get everything back on track there once we hit the 2 million price target, you know, because then the idea is to get it to 2 million and then keep it between 1.5 million, 2 million ongoing from that point, you know, until it makes sense to elevate the floor from a 1.5 million to something higher. But for a while, it'll be, you know, we'll keep the price bouncing around between 1.5 million and 2 million until we decide to change it and make it higher. But right now, anybody who's buying something this low is these are super bargain prices as far as I'm concerned, you know, if you're buying PML right now. So, and the more PML you get, the more you're going to take with you into the new pie chart for the new coin. And coming to a training, you're going to get $50 worth. You're going to get $50 worth of PML for every training you show up between now and when we launch. You know, it may not be we may not be using PML after the launch for the training, but we'll use it between now and then. And the programmer's already been, you know, I've already instructed the programmer to do that. That's not going to go into your wallet. It's going to go into your holding. Okay, so no way for the coins that we're using for training. There's no way for them to actually, you know, impact the chart either way. So it's going to be all good. But what it does is it helps those that are serious gain more of a percentage of the new coin when it rolls out. And we'll finalize here with Hunter. Got your hand up?
Are we still on track to have the PFG payouts from the previous trainings that haven't been paid out yet, or are we just going to shift all those to PML?
This particular training that we're in right now, this one is the first of PML going forward till the April 6th date. So between now and April 6th, all trainings from this training forward, you know, when it comes to the paid training, whether I'm doing it or Mr. Gildas is doing it, those trainings that are paid, that we'll be using PML. Okay, $50 worth.
Gotcha.
But the programmer still has yet to pay some of the past things that we just had over the weekend. You know, my main programmer that takes care of all this, he happens to go to church on Sunday. You know, and it's one of those kind of people. So that you know. I sent the things to them, and they'll get paid soon enough. Yeah, they'll get paid soon enough, but they'll be paid in PFG. You know, because those are before. So this is the first one, and anything before that's going to be paid in PFG until it's all done. So just to clarify that.
Gotcha.
You know, equity is it's not just numbers on a screen. It's as real as we choose to make it. It's up to us to create the value that makes it real. Okay? A marketplace that's got lots of people coming in, lots of users. That's real. That is what's ahead of us to create together as co-owners. Okay? Please help shoulder the responsibility and take it on as like, hey, if you're going to give me $1 billion, I'll put my shoulder to the wheel. No problem. Right? You give me $1 million, I'll put my shoulder to the wheel. No problem. As an owner, that's how you have to see it. Right, guys?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
It's all of us together. That's what's going to make this happen. So together we win. Right? How about that? Everybody just unmute and say, together we win.
Together we win.
We all win.
Together we 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 win.